Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open the playbook for how a global company can win in one of the most dynamic and, well, complex emerging markets in the world, Malaysia. So let's just dive right in with the million-dollar question. How do you succeed in a place that seems to have two completely different sets of rules? It's a huge challenge for any expanding business, and honestly, Malaysia is the perfect case study. It's a country with massive opportunities, but to really make it, you've got to learn to see what's happening beneath the surface. So here's how we're going to break it all down in this 5-part playbook. First, we'll look at the big picture, the GVC puzzle. Then we'll get into the real secret sauce, reading the 2 rulebooks. After that, we'll explore why Malaysia is really many markets in one. Then we'll tackle the geopolitical curveballs. And finally, we'll wrap it up with a framework for always making the right move. All right, part 1, the Malaysian GVC puzzle. You know, why this place is both a golden ticket and a real head-scratcher. Malaysia is an absolutely critical piece of the global value chain, the GVC. It's pulling in huge international investments in everything from cutting-edge electronics to green energy. But here's the catch. Success is anything but guaranteed. You can have the best product in the world, but to win here, you have to understand the invisible rules of the game that control, well, pretty much everything. It's not just about money. It's about navigating a maze. And that brings us perfectly to our second section, reading the 2 rulebooks. You see, every market has its rules, but in Malaysia, you have to master 2 completely different kinds, the one that's written down and the one that everybody just knows. Getting this right is the key to everything else. This idea from the Nobel-winning economist, Douglas North, is really our foundation here. He said, institutions are just the rules we humans create to live and work with each other. And that's the perfect way to look at Malaysia. It's all about understanding both the official rules and the unofficial ones. And this slide really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have the formal written rulebook. These are your laws, your regulations, your contracts. But on the other side, you've got the informal, unwritten rulebook. This is all about cultural norms, relationships, and unspoken expectations. And trust me, this one often has more power. You've got to be fluent in both. So let's start with the good stuff, the formal rules that help you out. Malaysia rolls out the red carpet with things like pioneer status, which gives you amazing tax breaks, and these super efficient free industrial zones that make logistics an absolute dream. They're actively trying to pull your business in. But that same written rulebook has its fair share of red tape. In some sectors, there are really strict equity rules to empower the local Bumiputra population, which includes ethnic Malays and other indigenous groups. Plus, you're facing some incredibly complex and non-negotiable ESG standards that you have to meet. Now let's talk about the unwritten rules that can work in your favor. This is where relationships are everything. Understanding concepts like budi, which is this deep cultural value of courtesy and respect, and guanxi, the power of your personal network, is how you build real trust. This is how you create local partnerships that are loyal and last. But ignoring these unwritten rules, that's a huge risk. For example, you might think halal requirements are just about food. Well, not here. They can extend to your entire supply chain. We're talking warehousing, transport, the whole shebang. And that can mean you have to build entirely separate operations just to stay compliant. Okay, on to our third section. And this is a big one. Probably one of the most common mistakes companies make is treating Malaysia like one single uniform market. It's not. It's a country of many, many different markets. A strategy that crushes it in the capital could be a total disaster just a few states over. And this table just shows it perfectly. Take Penang. It's known as the Silicon Valley of the East, a super competitive tech hub. Compare that to Sarawak. It's a completely different world, an emerging green energy giant that has its own distinct laws and even its own immigration rules for workers. So it begs the question, right? Why would a playbook for Penang just fall flat in Sarawak? Well, the answer is in all those deep differences we just talked about. The industries, the legal systems, the talent pools, they are worlds apart. You simply cannot copy and paste your strategy and expect it to work. All right, now let's zoom out for section 4, the geopolitical X factor. Because your business, your factory, it doesn't exist in a bubble. It's sitting right in the middle of a global chess game, and a move made in Washington or Beijing can literally be felt on your factory floor the very next day. Look at what's happening with the massive rewiring of global supply chains. The tech rivalry between the US and China is forcing companies to find a China plus one strategy, a way to de-risk. And Malaysia has shot to the top of that list. That's a huge opportunity, but it also means your factory is now built on a geopolitical fault line. So what does this actually mean for you? It means your business strategy now has to be a foreign policy strategy. A new export control from the US or a flare-up in the South China Sea could shut down your production line overnight. Geopolitics isn't some abstract concept anymore. It's a core business risk. So with all this complexity, the formal rules, the informal rules, the regional differences, the geopolitics, how in the world do you make the right call when a challenge hits? Well, that brings us to our final section and a really powerful tool, the 4A strategic matrix. It's actually pretty simple. Your move depends on two things. How important is the issue to you, and how much power do you have in the situation? Your options are to accede, just comply, ally, team up with local partners, alter, try to change the rules, or avoid, get out of the situation. Let's run through a couple of quick scenarios to see it in action. Okay, scenario 1. The national government passes a brand new law. It mandates a much higher minimum wage and really strict ESG reporting. You're an EV battery maker looking to expand your factory. So what do you do? I mean, think about it. How much power does one company really have against a federal law passed by a sovereign nation? Your play here is to accede. You just comply. This isn't a battle you can win. It's a non-negotiable cost of doing business there. So you adapt your budget, you update your processes, and you move on. All right, scenario 2. A totally different kind of problem, one that plays on those informal rules. A mid-level official at a local municipality hints that a little informal payment would really speed up your construction permits. So, what's your move now? Remember, you've got options. What's the smartest play here? Not just for today, but for the long-term health of your company. Here, the play is to avoid. Getting involved in corruption is a massive, massive risk, both legally and for your reputation. You have the power to choose where you build, so you use it. You sidestep that problem entirely and move your operations to a transparent, free trade zone where the rules are crystal clear. When you boil it all down, this playbook isn't just about Malaysia. It's a way of thinking that you can apply anywhere in the world. Success always, always comes down to understanding both the rules that are written down and, more importantly, the ones that are not. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. What are the invisible rules shaping your industry? And are you sure you're playing the right game?